Hey friend, okay, I am back for my next video about building community abroad and just building community in general, especially as an introverted, anxious, agoraphobic, which means you're afraid of the world and the people, overthinking, black woman, babe, we can break out of that. 2016 me would not believe 2026 me. Okay. So from me to you, we got this. Now, the last video was about making your first steps abroad, the challenges, homesickness, navigating, how to make a safe space abroad, all of those things. Now, community is what really helps you make a safe space abroad. Community is what really helps you settle down within yourself, within your space, and also you have the opportunity to implement all of the changes that you've made internally, and you're able to push them out externally with social interactions. Now, personally, as a formerly agoraphobic person who just did not want to talk to nobody, I didn't want to be perceived like, don't look at me, leave me alone. And the mask that I was wearing at work was super bright and bubbly, and it was my personality, but it was fake. I was like, babe, I'm trying to get this check and go home, okay? Um, and I had a lot of personal boundary work to do as well because from the age of 19 to 27 or so, I was a caregiver for my granny. That was my girl. She is my girl always. I do everything in her name, right? Um, I had a lot of personal boundary work to do. I had a lot of self value work to do. I had a lot of growing to do. And so, especially if whether you're abroad or not, knowing, again, echoing the first two videos, knowing yourself and what you want and what your key goals are, getting aligned with yourself and recognizing what your boundaries are, what you will and will not tolerate, whether that's from other people, excuse you, truck, um, other people or yourself, that is your key to moving and getting unstuck mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, even financially. Once you know what your highest self deserves, you are going to move towards, you don't have a choice. Okay. So in doing that, building community then helps you realize yourself. It's a self actualization, and you're self realizing amongst other people, and you're being pushed to enact all of the things that you have put into motion. It's your chance to put up or shut up, right, in community. And that's what I love, especially living abroad with a diverse, varied community of people from all walks of life, different languages, different cultures, different upbringings. This sun is shining beautifully, but babe, like, that is a huge, huge challenge to yourself in a good way. I take it as a positive. This is why I am so key on building community. So, like, there's a difference between, oh, let's go and get coffee, let's, chitter chatter about some little surface stuff. There's, oh, let's get together after work and play some games and have some fun, relieve some stress. Okay, cool. There's, oh, let's go to the club, let's hang out, until 3 o'clock in the morning, which I did that my first year. Okay, that was my first year. We ain't doing that no more. There's those types of relationships, and then there's where I am personally 6 years in, where I am identifying meaningful relationships. What is really, really satisfying, because here, especially if you're living abroad, relationships can be transient. People are here today, gone tomorrow, literally. I have met so many people who I've had deep connections with that I met one day, and they were only here for like maybe a few weeks, and they be gone and we never talk again. That is a wild thing, especially if you're an introverted person or an anxious person, and I put in the work, like, dang, I done put in all this work to come out of my shell and talk to you, and now you gone. It can be a hurtful thing. It can be a weird feeling. Um it can even trigger some abandonment wounds. I'm gonna be very real, because it's like, damn, like, we had this great connection. Because honestly, if you're living abroad too, sometimes you can overshare in trying to make a false sense of community. That's something you have to unlearn. When you're here, like the first, I'd say, year or two, is a lot of false sense of community because you're trying so hard to create community and recreate possibly something that you left behind back home, or to feeling a void of homesickness or loneliness. It's so easy to get caught up. And I'm gonna let this bus pass. Y'all enjoy the view a little bit. Can y'all see some stuff passing by? Anyways, so it can create a false sense of community. And honestly, what I've learned in these 6 years, as useful and helpful as I've been, like giving information all the time, being like a literal Rolodex of hidden gems around a car, and people being like, "Oh, ask Keisha, she'll know." I I became a little resentful of the community I had built because it really wasn't genuine. It was me proving myself useful. It was me feeling a void of missing back home sometimes. Um, Especially when you're navigating the challenges of living abroad, you will want to connect. And then sometimes you won't have the capacity to fully connect, and it'll be surface. And you'll keep people at arm's length, and that's something too. Living abroad, you will navigate because you'll start thinking, oh, I'm not going to be here that long, or these people won't be here that long. Even if I'm going to be here that long, I don't have to deepen the connection. But now, 6 years in, I'm like, I this is my home. Like, this is where I want to be long term. And so now I really have to be intentional about creating if the communities don't already exist that are deep and meaningful for me, I have to take the lead in creating those connections. So now, like I said at the end of my last video, I started the Languages Love to pour into children. And because I'm an educator, first and foremost, that's the calling on my life. And I saw how children were being, especially local community children, were being left behind from the private school experience that I was giving, because I'm the magic in the classroom. I create all of my curriculums, I create all of my lessons, I create all of my expectations and the environments, and I build programs in other schools that mirror how I teach. And I train other teachers, especially local teachers, to teach in such a way that values joy and cross cultural connections and engagement and curiosity. So I wanted to bring that I do for children to adults. And so I expanded, and especially for women as priority, because hello, we carry a lot of burden no matter what culture we're in. And so now I've expanded to women. And then I expanded to creative workshops because I have so many creative friends who are artists who are seeking work or who are trying to show their work off. And then you have all of these people, cross cultural people, passing through or living here who stay within their expat bubbles. They stay at home, they stay in these little gated, locked off communities. They don't travel to what they would consider the hood or the outskirts, or, these untapped places that are full of life and communities that are vibrant. And so I started the creative workshops to bring people into those communities and meet the local artists and uplift local artistry. Spurred on and inspired by me being nosy. This is something about finding community. Hello, being nosy when you're living abroad. I walked past this shop, long story short, I walked past this shop and was curious every day because I kept noticing more and more candles on the porch. And I was like, this is a fish shop first. And then I seen some vegetables, but now it's full of candles. What's happening? So I just poked my head in and spoke the local language. Hello, learning the local language. I spoke the local language in greeting, and I poked my head in, and a booming voice from the corner said, "Who is that? What do you want?" And I was like, "Excuse me." And so I poked my head around, but when I poked my head around, I saw an old man with a smile on his face, and I ended up meeting Professor Abubakar Shadiq Bay. And Professor Bay, he was awesome. Was past tense because he unexpectedly passed away. But we had made an agreement to do candle workshops, and he was my first catalyst for doing these workshops because here he was in this humble shop on the corner of the street making candles and teaching his apprentices how to make these natural candles in his style. And he was key about organic materials, and I only knew him as my grumpy uncle. I didn't know him as anything else. And so we made this agreement to do the workshops, and he unfortunately became very sick and passed before we could have the workshops. But in meeting him, I think it was only maybe 6 months of knowing him, I found out that he is a world renowned scientist, a brilliant mind, an educator and professor at the university here, well esteemed, highly esteemed, but so humble, so incredibly humble. And so I really wanted people to understand that, especially here in Senegal, you can be walking with the most incredible, high status people, but they are so chill, and it's all in how you carry yourself, and that's how you start building community, because you don't treat people a certain way based on their status, because you don't want to be treated that way, especially as an American coming here. You don't want to be treated as just, oh, here's an American who gets special treatment, or here's a Tubab who gets poor treatment, etc., those types of things. So he was the catalyst for me starting the workshops, because I really wanted people to understand the depths of Senegalese culture outside of their bubble. So that helps me create meaningful connections, because I would have people from all walks of life, all ages, grandpa and his granddaughter, a young teen from Russia, besties, one from France and the other from another country because they work together, an auntie and her niece. The auntie led the workshop, who's a brilliant embroidery artist and jewelry maker in her own right. These types of things, like, and the people that would connect were so unexpected. Like the grandpa would be he became besties in 3 hours with the young Russian girl, and they were just talking. And even after the workshop, when she came to the next workshop, she couldn't stop talking about him, and when he came to another workshop, he couldn't stop talking about her. And they connected just like on culture and talking about life, and him giving life lessons to the whole table. Like, it was really a blessing. And having people from Norway move here, and having somebody else say, "Oh, I speak your language," and they start talking in their language. Those types of things. That is incredible to me. And so I wanted to be the catalyst for that. Again, thinking back to, and I mentioned this in the first two videos, one of them, is that thinking about what you love to do in your childhood and memories from your childhood and what was inspiring you in your childhood. My childhood was because I have a huge family. I love those moments of people getting around the table and sharing food. I love those moments of people just sitting and talking. I would fall asleep to my grandma welcoming people that she hadn't seen in years, or people from out of town. And they would just be talking and sharing food or sharing drink or being on the porch or something. And I would just knock out. It was the balm to my spirit. And so I wanted to create that here. I wanted to bring that Southern love here. And then I started the little bakery because, again, I wanted to bring community through food like my granny used to do. My granny Lil, the language is love, the Lil. I wanted to bring her love here. So that's also how you can deepen community. Don't be so surface for yourself. You have to, as an introverted person, formerly high anxiety, formerly agoraphobic and afraid of the world, in order to show yourself and tell yourself a new story about the world, you have to let people know you. You don't have to tell all your business. Again, oversharing creates a false sense of connection and community. There is a way to honor your personal boundaries that you have engaged up until this point. Again, a point I made before. You know yourself, you learn yourself by interacting and building a community. And so that way, you're creating those meaningful, connections. And so I'll let this bus pass by. Okay. We're going to take those noises as confirmation and affirmation that we're on the right track. A part of, oh, there's two. Oh, honey. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Now, I have a list of ways that you can join a community through my organization, through my association, The Languages Love. I honestly answered all of these for people, like if they are seeking a way to find community and build community abroad through not only meaningful community, creativity, hobby clubs, volunteering, because I do the initiatives and I welcome people to volunteer. I have about 5 people who are set to show up on Saturday to volunteer with my association. That is a bridge. That is how you do it. And then you get to have meaningful one on one connections, because I've had women who are, for example, in my Dakar sister circle, who met at that gathering of sharing and mindfulness. And we did yoga. We had live Cora from Giselle Toure, which I'll link her. It was a beautiful, calm, safe space for a bunch of women who said they were highly introverted and staying to themselves, who then came back and told me that they found a friend that they could have one-on-one connections with, that they could go and get coffee with and talk about life with, because we're all in these different facets of life. We have moms who need other moms to connect to. We have travelers who need other travelers to connect to. We have introverts. We have creatives, artists, jewelry makers, designers. If you have your people, your certain type of people you want to connect with, then you are in these groups and in these settings and in these community building events to find your people. And I never take it away when people find people outside of my group. You know what I mean? Go, that's the entire point of it, baby. Find your people. This is a home and a safe space. And so that's how you do it. You put yourself out there, you show up. And that's a big part of it too, is that I've noticed in leading these groups, when people take the chance to say yes, they end up with so much as a reward. Because I've had people say, I almost didn't come today. I almost didn't come today. I almost stayed in the house, but I'm so glad that I came. I'm so glad I did this, you know? And so now I'm using YouTube, this, to build my community outside of Senegal, because I'm still highly anxious. I'm still introverted. It takes a lot for me to put myself out there. So this is a new frontier for me. You guys are joining me on the journey as I self actualize and realize another step in within myself, to show you that it's possible that you can do this if you are introverted, formerly anxious or high anxious, or currently agoraphobic and high anxiety. You can put yourself out there, and it does not have to be perfect. It can be full of this noise and nonsense, and you still keep going. So this is a shorter video about building community, and then next is purposeful community work. In the link in the comments, there should be a quiz, which is a free quiz that you can take about what type of traveler you are and what you need. And then I am going to make myself available to you for like one-on-one consultations. I will create a link in the description as well, so that you can connect with me, because I am online using these platforms to build community. I'm at The Language Is Love on Instagram, as well as at Dakar Sister Circle. If you're in Dakar and you want to join a circle of well-being for women across culture, you can also just send me a message on here. I'll include a way to connect with me on here. So I'll see you in the next video.